Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2015 Kansas Master Teacher Awards Dinner. And welcome to Emporia State University, the home of the nationally recognized Teachers College, the National Teachers Hall of Fame, and the Final Four Lady Hornets. My name is Roy Mann. I serve as Director of Development for the ESU Foundation, and I'm pleased to serve as your Master of Ceremonies this evening. Back in January of 2012, President Michael Shonrock became the 16th President of Emporia State University. Just a second, sir, my evaluation's coming up. President Shonrock has not only championed Emporia State University, but he's been a tireless advocate for education and our university ever since, and it gives me great pleasure, an ecstatic pleasure, to introduce to you President of Emporia State, Dr. Michael Shonrock.
Well, thank you for that very kind introduction. Let me first thank you all for being here this evening. As I think about Emporia State University, it's just a great time to be a Hornet. It's just an exciting time. There's lots of, no pun intended, lots of buzz going on around the campus these days. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you all being here. I think about our new vision and mission statement about changing lives and making a difference in our communities. Tonight, we're going to recognize some folks, without question, have changed lives and have made great strides in their communities. And on behalf of all of us, thank you for everything you have and continue to do. Thanks for making a difference in the lives. And I'm always reminded every time for this banquet, I just want you to pause for a moment and think about one or two of those teachers that changed your life, made a difference, believed in you. Every year I come to this now, I actually think about one or two or three of those and try to contact them. So I got a hold of my English teacher, who still remembered me. I don't think she really did. But she goes, yes, you sat up in front. Yeah, I didn't. Well, what I was amazed was, as we started talking, she did remember me. And she actually remembered a paper I wrote a while ago. And in that discussion, I realized in their hearts, not just their minds, but in their hearts, they care about their students. They care about the kids. So for those that we're going to recognize as master teachers, as you think about mastering anything, any discipline, mastering teaching is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And thank you for doing what you do each and every day and making a difference in the lives of so many children. As we go on through our lives, let's not forget, and I'll challenge each of you tonight, think of that one or two teachers that made a difference in your life. Reach out and thank them for making a difference for you to be here this evening. So with that, thank you, congratulations, go Hornets. Thank you.
And we appreciate President Shonrock making a stop. I think he only had 3 events to attend this evening, but this was an important one, and he wanted to take part. Well, tonight serves as a milestone not only for our teachers who are being recognized, but for me as well. I began my career as a music teacher back in 1979. I dreamed that I would one day be on the platform of the Kansas Master Teacher Banquet. It took more than 30 years, but I am here. Thank you for that opportunity. Well, we as a university are extremely pleased and proud to serve as the home of the Kansas Master Teacher Program. Since founding of our university in 1863 as a normal school, we've embraced a commitment to education and take great pride in particular in our teacher preparation program. It was natural, therefore, for our university to establish a program that would recognize the best professionals in the field of teaching in our state. Our inductees are now members of this select group we call Master Teachers, and we are so pleased to honor them tonight and add their names to the list of distinguished individuals who have earned this award since it was established here in 1954. I know they've had a very busy day here already on campus, and now we are pleased to have them here for this culminating event. By definition, the adjective master means having or showing a very great skill or proficiency. And our honored teachers have demonstrated their respective skills and their proficiency to their students, to their parents, to their colleagues, and their administrators, and they've done so throughout their careers. So tonight we will officially bestow them with the official title of Kansas Master Teacher. Now on to our honorees. This year's Master Teachers are Carmen Cantrell, Shawnee Mission, Barbara Clark, Manhattan-Ogden, Kori E. Green, El Dorado, Leslie McAfee, Piper, Bill McFarland, Auburn, Washburn, and Reed Uthe, Blue Valley, and Ginger Whiteside, Steck, Andover. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to rise and welcome our 2015 Kansas Master Teachers. Thank you, and you may be seated. True to form in Kansas, our tonight's dinner will be served in a buffet style, and we're going to start with our guests of honor, our master teachers, and then we're going to work our way from the front of the room to the back. And I anticipate if we have any problems with the order, with master teachers and former master teachers here, we'll have no problems getting you there in an orderly fashion. So master teachers, we invite you to start through the line. Please enjoy your dinner. Well, again, welcome to each and every one of you, and thank you again for joining us for this 2015 Kansas Master Teacher Awards ceremony. As I said earlier, this year we honor our 7 master teachers and their contributions to the education of Kansas school children and families. Before I call the teachers to the stage, though, I have some recognitions and some introductions to do. First of all, I hope you appreciated the dinner tonight, and if so, I'd like to have you join me in a round of applause for our ESU chef and catering staff under the supervision of Jackie Schrader. So thank you. When you work here, it's always good to commend the staff that feeds you, and they do a tremendous job. Well, first of all, in our introductions, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the Dean of the Teachers College, Dr. Ken Weaver. He'll be assisting us with the program tonight. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you the Vice President for University Advancement and the President of the ESU Foundation. Oh, and my boss, Dina Sue Potestio. Dina Sue, where are you? Right there. You also have a list, I believe, in your program book of all the 2015 Master Teacher nominees. And folks, that we congratulate each of them. Being nominated is an honor, and it's a demonstration of their outstanding service in their district. I believe we have a couple of our nominees who are with us this evening, and I will probably mispronounce some names, so I will apologize in advance. Barbie Norton from Blue Valley. Barbie's here. And Kelly, where's Kelly? From Junction City. Kelly, your last name is Thisson. Kelly Thisson. I got it right. Thank you so much. We also have, for honorees in here, you can look around. I believe we have several master teachers who are in attendance. If you are a Kansas master teacher, would you please stand and allow us to recognize you? Folks deserve a great deal of appreciation of the members of the selection committee who have that task of going through all those nominations. And I know we have a couple here. Carol Strickland is here. Carol, the National Teachers Hall of Fame. And I believe Sherry Schwans from KNEA. Sherry? We're also extremely proud to have at our table a member of the Kansas State Board of Education, Mr. Steve Roberts. Would you please stand? I believe we also have some of our legislators here who, like teachers, learn to do with very little resources. We have some here, I believe Representative Will Carpenter. Representative Carpenter. We had a reservation, I don't know if she's here, but Representative Melissa Rooker. Representative Rooker. May have had other commitments come up. We also have District Representative for Senator Jerry Moran's office as well, Bill Manis. Bill? I think it's also worth noting that of our honorees tonight, I think we have some school principals, some superintendents and administrators. If you are here in honor of your teachers and supporting your teachers, would you stand as well for our school principals and administrators? And we also would be remiss if we didn't thank the local planning committee who put this all together. And I would also add Lucy Uthe, who kept everybody in line and has moved this process through. We have any of our planning committee here? Lucy, you can stand. We can thank you. Well, at this point, I'd like to call the 2015 Kansas Master Teachers to the stage. We're going to ask that you come up, that you remain standing until we have you all introduced. The way this will work is we'll have you come up. We're going to bestow upon you the official pronouncement. We will then have an opportunity to get a group shot of you all together. And then following the group shot, we're going to present you each with your individual awards. This will allow an opportunity, if you have friends or family who would like to come up and grab a picture, to do it at that point. All right, now for a presentation of the individual awards. Again, photo opportunities are available. Also, if you'd like, Dr. Weaver and I are available if you'd like photos of us as well. Carmen Cantrell. Barbara Clark. Kori E. Green. Leslie McAfee. Bill McFarland. Reed Uthe. And Ginger Whiteside Steck.
So many good parts of the day that it's difficult to say this part is better than that part. Certainly for me, this is my favorite, next to the time that the master teachers have spent with 100+ students this afternoon for about an hour and 15 minutes. That was a special time, and there it was not students and master teachers. It was educators working to try to do the best job for the children of Kansas. It was certainly, it's special, very special. So I have the great privilege of introducing to you every one of our master teachers. And after I introduce you to a master teacher, that master teacher will then come up and have an opportunity to share some thoughts with you. Carmen Cantrell adheres to 3 basic beliefs about teaching and learning: a clear understanding of intentions, explicit instruction, and the notion that all students can learn. And learning cannot be hurried or rushed. It must be thorough and thoughtful, direct and explicit, with the learner as the central figure. A former colleague writes, "When I think about Carmen, the word that comes to mind is professional. Part of her philosophy, evidenced on a daily basis, is that teachers are professionals in every respect. From her dress to her communication with other teachers, students, and parents, Carmen is an absolute professional." Another colleague states, "She is never satisfied with her level of knowledge, skills, or understanding of the complexities of the instructional process. She continually seeks new ways to teach and improve as a professional. She models what lifelong learning is all about." A former student who compared his middle school experience to the Syrian civil war says, "She made us feel wanted and at home in a place that was just as bad or even worse than downtown Aleppo." And for that, I have to say, thank you, thank you. Thanks for being there for us when no one else was. We wouldn't have made it out of here if it wasn't for you. His parents concur, writing, "Having a child with special needs is a daily challenge, and it can be frustrating at times. Carmen was always there to support us as a family. Her faith in our son has been constant, even when we may have wavered." A building principal writes, "Carmen's work with parents and students is phenomenal. Caring, forward-thinking, respectful, detailed, and reliable. She is not only a strong teacher with a wealth of knowledge, but also a gifted facilitator of adult learning. Her guidance of all core teachers through her background in special education and knowledge of what works for struggling learners has impacted the achievement of all students." Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carmen Cantrell, Master Teacher.
Good evening. I am deeply honored and truly grateful for this award. Sincere appreciation goes to the many, many individuals involved in what is, I learned today, has been a 62-year tradition. Sincere appreciation and thank you to the selection committee and to our leader, Lucy, without whom we could not have done everything we did. If I've learned one lesson in my career, it is that being a successful teacher is not a solo endeavor, but rather a richly supported one. Now let's give some attention to those people who support me, who galvanize me. First, my husband, Fireman Rex, without whom I could not do life as I know it. Though retired, he is in the building and can help us safely evacuate if we need to, okay? My sister, her children, and their children, with me here in spirit, joy abounds in that family. My colleagues and building leaders, without whom I could not do school. You inspire me, you guide me, you guard me, and you rein me in when necessary to show the depth of their caring, their commitment, their above and beyond matter of course. 7 of those extraordinary individuals are here with me tonight. In education, our work is never finished. Daily, we need to accept challenges and welcome celebrations. In thinking about our profession at this time, a quote from Robert Frost encapsulates one aspect of our work. Mr. Frost believed that education was the ability to listen to almost anything without losing your temper or your self-confidence. I invite you to consider the words of Mr. Frost, and again, I express my gratitude for this award and this evening. Thank you.
Barbara Clark believes that unique and outstanding performance is determined by what happens on a daily basis in the classroom. It is not just one project or one activity that makes for excellence. It is the relationships that are built, the experiences that are shared, and the memories that are made. She states, "I want my students to remember what they were able to do, not what I did." A colleague remarks her passion for teaching and learning is immeasurable. The student is at the center of every idea she shares, every program she facilitates, every decision she makes. Barbara believes in excellence for all and demonstrates excellence in all she does. Her principal observes, Mrs. Clark expects the very best from her students, and they rise to the occasion. She is firm, but every response or redirection is bathed in genuine concern for the student. Mrs. Clark builds bonds beyond the classroom by communicating openly and honestly with parents. She is not afraid to address the tough issues, and parents and coworkers respect her for this. A former student, now in college, writes, "She treats every one of her students with absolute care and belief. When she noticed my interest in the medical field, she provided me with some outside the classroom exposure. I recall during a teacher-parent conference, she sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, 'I know you can be a doctor.' Thanks to Mrs. Clark, I'm still trying to pursue that interest today." Another former student, now in 7th grade, says, "She taught my classmates and I new strategies in math, and it made homework so much easier to understand. She taught me how not to blurt out answers as much. She works with every student, and she is also very patient." A parent states Mrs. Clark's love for teaching is evident, not only academically, but also how she helps all students become better overall individuals. I am fortunate that both my sons had the opportunity to have such a wonderful teacher. Ladies and gentlemen, Barbara Clark, Kansas Master Teacher.
Okay, y'all have to be patient with me because I'm not used to talking to anybody over 4 foot tall, but with y'all sitting, that makes it easier. I would like to thank Emporia State University for this wonderful honor. This has been a great day, and we've just had so much fun being all together. I've met some truly wonderful people today. And I am so thrilled that a Floridian is now part of the Kansas Master Teachers. Thank you for honoring us, and in so honoring us, you honor the teaching profession and also all teachers everywhere. Thank you, Lucy. Lucy was in charge of us for the day and did a great job babysitting. She is a great representative of Emporia State University. I would also like to thank USD 383 administration and the school board. Their support of the teachers in our district, every day they show that they genuinely care for us and for what we are doing to educate students. All of us know that we as teachers did not do this on our own. Our achievements are truly a testament to those that we work with and we have worked for. So I would like to thank all of the teachers, all of the many teachers that I've worked with over the years, especially those that have been brave enough to team with me in 4th grade. Jenny Murdoch, who was a was a team member of mine, and Renee Mercado and Denise Christensen, who every day enact some of the harebrained ideas that I have. I would also like to thank Dr. Cleon Morton. She has truly brought a new energy and spirit to our school, and most of all, for not running away the first week of school. A big thanks goes to the over 1,000 students that I've had and their parents that I've had the great pleasure to interact with over the years. After 35 years of teaching, many things have changed. However, the eagerness and the excitement each student brings to school with them every day has not. They are what makes this job the act of the heart. When you receive an award such as this, many people ask you what you are most proud of. I am, and always will be, most proud of my family. my 3 children, Ashley and Matt, who are here tonight, and my son Rob, who is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They are my life. They are wonderful people who have made Gary and me proud to be their parents. My husband, Gary, who has always been there to support, encourage, put up with me, and pay the bills. As teachers, our families often receive the short end of the stick. They have to put up with the unending work that we bring home every evening. They have to understand why we miss their school activities because we are dedicated to the kids in our classrooms. And they have to listen to all the stories we bring home with us. Thank you for your sacrifice. Taking a page from John Bodie, 2014 master teacher, I would also like to thank the Manhattan's legislators, Senator Tom Hawk, Representative Sidney Carlin, and Representative Tom Phillips. They have fought extremely hard for education this year. Thank you for recognizing the value of what we do every day. To Governor Brownback and any Kansas legislator, I would invite you to come and share my classroom any day. There you will meet the best kids in the world. You may want to also take the time to talk with the real experts, the teachers that are in the classroom every day, dealing with all the needs that walk through their door, the people that spend their own money enriching the lives of the students in their class, and the ones that actually make a difference for the children of Kansas. Thank you again, Emporia, for having us here. It has been a wonderful day and a great honor.
Kori Green states, in an era when the knowledge of humanity is so easily accessible, I want my students to develop ungoogleable skills that will make them more effective citizens. I want my students to develop critical thinking. The relationship between past and present is a connection that extends beyond what my students could find by searching online. A colleague states she is willing to try whatever it takes to impact learning and to create an excellent learning environment. Her instructional strategies are research-based, take advantage of appropriate tools, and are designed to both engage her students and push them academically. A parent of a former student says, she uses technology in the classroom to help students learn material and interact with each other. And perhaps most importantly, with her unusually varied approaches to presenting subject matter, she engages all her students, even the quiet or socially inept kids who often feel out of place. Another parent says, through her use of technology, project-based learning, and overall enthusiasm for the subject, Mrs. Green was able to keep my daughter engaged. I will be ever grateful for her willingness to bring her classroom into the 21st century in working with our 21st century learners. A current student writes, I love her class, and the rest of the students feel the same way because she treats us all equally and allows us to do things that allow critical thinking, which allows us to understand the material like never before. A former student writes, Kori Green has the unique ability to not simply teach a subject, but to create a permanent place for that subject in our hearts and minds. I have attended hundreds of classes before and after Mrs. Green's, but I remember more from her class than I do from all the rest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kori Green, Master Teacher.
One thing I didn't get to tell the students this afternoon is when you're shopping, make sure your skirts or dresses have pockets in them and you will be golden as a teacher. I wanted to start today with, and as it turned out, I did not have to hunt for a pocket-sized green apple. We would have been provided with them today. But my whole story starts this last fall when, during first hour, right after announcements, into my room walks my superintendent, my assistant superintendent, the president of the school board, with a big basket of apples. As I learned later, usually they're red apples, but since it was for Ms. Green, they made a concession, and I got a big basket of green apples. And what does a good teacher do with a big basket of green apples? You make a pie. And I'd like to think that our students are like the apples when they come into our classrooms. They are the raw materials, and it's what each subject puts into those students that makes them that full, complete end product, that tasty, tasty pie. But from that, I guess I will go to my thank yous, and particularly as a social studies teacher, I will have to put a little bit of the weight on the government and civics and social studies side because, you know, that's me. And to some of those in our state government who might not have figured it out, but to quote John Green, and not my father, John Green, but blogger, crash course, and mental floss host, writer of young adult fiction that has probably made a chunk of your students cry, or at least if they went to the movie version. He has a great quote. Public education does not exist for the benefit of students or the benefit of their parents. It exists for the benefit of the social order. We've discovered as a species that it is useful to have an educated population. You do not need to be a student or have a child who is a student to benefit from public education. Every second of every day of your life, you benefit from public education. So, with that, I promise to be a better civics teacher. I take responsibility for our future voters and will do my best to instill in them a sense of duty to our society, and hopefully they will remember their teachers, masters, and otherwise that have helped them so that the educators of Kansas may continue to do what's best for students with all the resources that make that possible. To the personal side, to Laura and Vicki, thank you for being my editor, my conscience, and my cheerleader. I would not be up here if it weren't for you. To my superintendent, Sue Gibbons, my principals, Carla King and Heath Elliott, thank you for always bending over backwards to let the teachers do what's best for the kids whenever possible. To the Jensens for making sure I had all the technology I needed that have let me do so many of the awesome things I've been able to do in my classroom. To my brother, Nat, in far-off exotic Cleveland, for letting me drag him to school whenever he's in town. He's a chef. To help me show the kids the connections between history, food, and culture. And finally, to my parents, John and Kathy Green, who, after my first week of kindergarten, and when I decided that I didn't want to go to school anymore because I wasn't running the show, bought me that Care Bear to bribe me to go back to school. Thank you, because if it wasn't for that Care Bear, I might not be here today. So with that, and with many thanks to Emporia State, so I'll gladly share a little bit of my Jayhawk with a little bit of Hornet now. Thank you very much for an excellent day with other excellent educators. Thank you.
Leslie McAfee states in her philosophy that students will teach you much more than the knowledge you bestow upon them. They will teach you that respect is a two-way street, that being flexible doesn't ruin a lesson plan, that please and thank you are important words, and how to do things on your electronic devices that you never dreamed possible. Leslie's superintendent writes, Leslie's efforts, compassion, rigor, differentiated instruction, and genuine love for each and every student extends beyond the current grade level in the current school year. Former students, alumni, and parents always speak highly of Mrs. McAfee and the positive impact that she has made on their lives. Her principal writes, one of the most impressive things about Leslie is her commitment to the collaborative classroom. Through her hard work and dedication, Leslie seamlessly introduces and includes special education teachers and paraeducators into her math classroom and truly creates a collaborative teaching culture. A colleague states, she finds ways to help students master material that they never thought they could. In doing so, she creates relationships with them that transcends the classroom. She becomes the go-to resource for vulnerable populations, not just for math, but for life. A high school sophomore states, math and algebra are my least favorite subjects. So to go to algebra and actually understand it easily and enjoy it was nothing short of a miracle, which I attribute to Mrs. McAfee's teaching methods. A parent of a former student says she loves what she does, she truly cares for her students, she conducts herself with a high level of professionalism, and is an active participant in her community, all the while being a genuinely caring and fun person. She is the perfect example of the teacher that all parents wish for their child. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Leslie McAfee, Kansas Master Teacher.
This has been an amazing day. I'm going to change my beginning of my speech a little bit because of what happened right outside that door with the 7 of us who started the morning as complete strangers. And Carmen turned to everyone and said, I want to thank all of you for being a part of one of the most wonderful days of my life. And I think we all feel that way, that as a teacher, one of the most wonderful days is celebrating being a teacher, and that's what we've been allowed to do all day today at Emporia, is celebrate being a teacher. They just wanted us to enjoy the day, and we truly did. So I want to thank Emporia for making us feel so special and so appreciated. I also want to thank my principal, Dr. Mike Schumacher, who surprised me here this evening and is at the table, because it was at his urging to our building that you guys need to celebrate the good teachers in this building, and you need to recognize yourselves as worthy recipients of many of the awards that are offered out there to the teaching community. And it was because of him that I'm standing up here, because he made us aware of the fact that these awards are there for the taking. There could have been many different combinations of people here tonight with me, but it just so happens that the 4 people sitting at my table are probably the 4 that have been the most affected by me choosing to be a dedicated teacher. The first person is my husband, who patiently has watched as I've graded papers, prepared lessons, and he never complains about the amount of time that I devote that takes us away from doing something more fun. My daughter is here. She and her brothers and my grandchildren have to share me with mom's other kids. And that's a sacrifice that all teachers' children face. My sisters are here. They have taken on an inequitable role of taking care of aging parents, because it's just not easy for a teacher to take the day off. I'll work from home. I'll run to a doctor's appointment. They've taken over for me and allowed me to be up here tonight. I also have a master teacher at my table, my uncle, Ken Bingman, and his wife, Mary, my aunt and uncle. And he's going to tell me the rest of my life that it rubbed off from him onto me. I just know he is. I feel like family members also need an award tonight for the support that they show for the teaching profession. They say that behind every successful man is a strong woman. I think behind every master teacher, there is a strong, supportive family. So I thank my family members and all family members here tonight who support us and support our dedication to teaching. Thank you.
McFarland says in his philosophy that attitude is one of the most important components of being an effective teacher and role model. I enjoy my job, my students, my subject matter, and I believe anyone who has been in my classroom knows it. Through my positive attitude and enthusiasm for learning, my students are actively engaged in their daily assignments and activities. Bill's principal writes, Bill has more than 30 years of experience and has the energy of a first-year teacher. That's a great compliment right there, wow. He doesn't teach history, he makes it an exploratory class. Students like going to Mr. McFarland's social studies class, the highest praise from 7th graders. A colleague states, Bill is serious about professional development and continuous improvement. He is an amazing model for others. He routinely spends time over breaks and during weekends and during summers, learning more about his craft and discipline. A parent and a former student writes, I recall how I looked forward to each day of class under Mr. McFarland's direction. He added a sense of excitement to his style of teaching and always appropriately injected humor. More than 30 years later, I was absolutely thrilled to learn my son had been assigned to Mr. McFarland's team. Another parent writes, his natural character, positive demeanor, and unique teaching style exemplify a rare talent that inarguably places him at the top of his peers. A former student says, Mr. McFarland has not only touched my academic life, but also my personal one. He is, beside my parents, the adult I look up to the most. He has been a real role model for me. I have always hoped to grow up to love my job as much as he loves his. Another former student writes, his classroom is like uncharted territory, fun to be in and always interesting. I will always remember how much he loves to teach and how he gets great joy out of Mondays. He taught me that you can be kind to most anyone. Now I know good things come into all packages. Please welcome Bill McFarland, Master Teacher.
I'd like to thank Emporia State University for this honor, and it really has been a wonderful day. And for me, to a large extent, it's been like coming home, because I attended Thomas W. Butcher Elementary School, which is the lab school here on campus, or at least was, from kindergarten through 6th grade. I lived right across the street here from this building on Market Street, so Emporia State was my front yard, and I played in it almost every day. So it's been very nice to be on campus and to walk around and see the changes here. So thank you very much to Emporia State for this opportunity. I'd like also to thank my principal, Jerry Myers. I've had a number of different principals. I've had 7 principals throughout my teaching career, and he is a true educational leader. And so I'd like to thank him and the other administrators in our building and in our district who make what we do in our district possible. I've also been blessed with colleagues that have been very supportive. I teach on a team that I get to meet with every day, the Eclipse team, and so we get to talk about things in other disciplines as well, and the encouragement that they have been to me. I teach with brilliant people. The Social Studies Department at Washburn Rural Middle School also has had a real collaborative atmosphere since I've ever known it, willing to share and to encourage one another and commiserate when that's necessary as well. I probably learned as much from my students as they learn from me many times, and so I've had an opportunity to work with wonderful students as well. I've worked a lot I've learned a lot from my parents. At the time that I was going to elementary school, my father was my building principal, and so I had to behave both at school and at home. It did follow me home there. And so my parents have taught me a lot. I'm actually a 4th generation educator, and so around the table I learned about teaching from the stories that brought home by parents and grandparents there. My mother, I didn't realize when I was in 2nd grade or 3rd grade that she was a teacher. She had taken some time off to manage me and my brother and sister, and so I remember having some difficulty with something in science, and she explained it to me, and I said, "Mom, you should be a teacher," not knowing that she was a teacher. So I remember that and as well. And she also helped me out with some other things as well. One of them is the positive attitude that I tried to to have every day. And so she has always been an encouragement to me to be positive about things and have a good attitude. And one of the pieces of advice that she gave me once I had started teaching was, don't let people pull your strings. There are lots of people, whether it's a student or other people, that want to get you to behave a certain way. And so try to stay above that. And so that was one of the things. So having a positive attitude is one of the things I've learned. I've also learned about the importance of communication. All right? Communication among colleagues, among administration, among your students, among the staff. There was a story of my grandmother, that my grandmother taught in a one-room schoolhouse, and at one point she got a call from a parent that said, Johnny is down in the cellar and he's putting potatoes in a bushel basket. And he said that was an assignment for school. And Grandma thought, well, I don't know what he'd be thinking about. And said, he said that you stopped right in the middle of music class and gave the assignment. And Grandma said, oh, I stopped there and I said, now class, by tomorrow, we want to know how many beats are in a measure. And so he didn't have beats, so he substituted potatoes. And the most common measure on the farm was a bushel basket. So that taught me a number of different things. Okay. One, that the creativity of our students, for one thing. That if you give them a task, that most of them are going to try to meet that task and those expectations. Another one is that no matter how clearly you think you have explained what your expectations are, it's always good to check for understanding. And something else I've learned is also the importance of collaboration. I've talked about that a little bit already. It's some of the most useful things I've learned have been from fellow teachers. And so some I've learned from people who have had decades of experience, and I've learned from first-year teachers that haven't yet been in the classroom. Teaming has been a great thing as far as the middle-level education, the ability to collaborate and to plan and to strategize with professionals. And it takes more than just those that meet them in the classroom as well. Administration, bus drivers, custodians. There are lots of different people that come into contact with the student during the day, and every single one of them is important. One more thing, it's important not to give up. Just because something doesn't go the way that you planned it doesn't mean it's a defeat. When I first was on a team, we had our very first interdisciplinary unit. We were tagging on to something in science, having to do with hot air and hot air balloons. So the whole team got together, we did some things with that, and then we said, let's have a culminating activity. We'll have a picnic lunch. We'll, in the evening, we'll invite parents in. We got a real hot air balloon to come out and launch. The kids had made tissue paper hot air balloons. And so we had this grand idea of how this was going to be a great thing. But the wind was out of the wrong direction, and it was going to blow the balloon over Forbes Airfield, which they don't let you do that. So the big balloon didn't go up. So we thought, well, let's put up the tissue paper balloons. And so we tried that. The first one that we tried caught fire, fell onto the rest, a large amount of balloons that were on the ground, and burst into flames. It was like the Hindenburg. Now, that wasn't how we envisioned having our first interdisciplinary unit go. But the next day, I decided this is going to work great for me. When the kids came into class, I said, get out a piece of paper and write down, I was at the balloon launch last night, or I was not at the balloon launch last night. Had them do that, and then I said, write down what you saw happen, or what you heard happen, because the whole school had heard what happened by that next morning, happened when we tried to launch the balloon. And so that became a great lesson for primary sources, those that were eyewitnesses, and secondary sources, those who had only heard about it. And it was also an interesting lesson to see the variety in those primary sources. Most of them had it right. The teachers were heroes, stomping out the burning embers. There was one girl who really liked us teachers, had no axe to grind, but she had us panicking and throwing burning balloons into the crowd. So and when we were reading the other, she was shaking her head, and she just could not understand that was what had happened. So to summarize, don't give up, collaborate, communicate, and listen to your mom. So I do appreciate the honor here today, and I'm pleased to accept it on behalf of the educators that I work with at 437. But in reality, the true honor today has already happened to me. We had the opportunity to speak with those who are doing their student teaching. And at the end of it, a young lady came up to me with tears in her eyes. And she said, "Mr. McFarland, I was one of your students. And you're the reason that I went into education. And you're the reason that I'm doing my student teaching in social studies." And
Reed Uthe states in his philosophy that it is important to have high yet attainable expectations for my students both academically and socially. Living in a modern global society, students must learn how to interact, communicate, and collaborate with others. Reed's principal writes, "His gift to teach is evident to all whenever you enter his classroom. Students are engaged and focused as Mr. Uthe combines his speech and drama curriculum with the core subjects and develops lessons with relevance and rigor for all. On top of all his classroom skills, Reed still finds time to do more. This spring, he will be directing his 26th theater production at Lakewood Middle School, involving over 2,600 kids." A colleague states, "Reed's outstanding skills include, but are not limited to, being an advocate for his program, personalizing student learning, organizing performances, and creating an environment in which students and fellow staff members flourish." A friend and theater colleague writes, "Mr. Uthe embodies everything that makes a master teacher. He is a passionate, thoughtful scholar who applies his knowledge and skills to help students learn. He also maintains high standards and expectations for his students, which they are eager to deliver." A parent of 3 students writes, "Folks fall into 2 categories when it comes to Mr. Uthe. Either crazy admiration and appreciation, or they simply don't know him. If you are blessed enough to know him, you can never be lukewarm about the man." 3 current students wrote together, "Mr. Uthe is one of the teachers that inspires every student to do their best. He has the ability to be every student's friend while still being an amazing and outstanding teacher." A former student says, "Reed Uthe has a great sense of humor, but more than that, he has a real heart for how he treats his students. He was always emphasizing how important it was to be kind and encouraging to people in our class that were getting out of their comfort zone." Please welcome Reed Uthe, Master Teacher.
As been said already, it has been an amazing day for us. I want to thank Emporia State and Bank of America for sponsoring this. It is hard for teachers to accept praise and be in the limelight, but I think the outreach that this program does to our state and to our country, highlighting all the good things that are done in the classroom, is really worth it. As has been said, we were able to tour the Teacher Hall of Fame today, and if you want to feel old, just take your time down there and check out the antique section and see the things that you used to use in your classroom. So, nothing like good old Ditto fluid. So we saw that, and speaking of feeling like an antique, we got to meet the ESU students today and the future teachers at lunch and during a panel discussion. These students are very bright. They ask great questions. They have high enthusiasm. So I do want to congratulate the staff of Emporia State for producing such great teachers, and also the next generation of teachers who will be funding my Capers account. When we get nominated for an award like this, it gives us time to reflect, something that I think we as teachers don't often take time to do. I've been lucky enough to teach over half my career in Blue Valley, and Blue Valley has 2 initiatives that are very, very at the very core of what we do. The first one is unprecedented academic success for every student, and the second one is unparalleled personal growth. When I started reflecting back on my time as a student and what I learned, and did my teachers and the people who taught me, did they have those same goals for me? And I believe they did. And I've got a couple of examples for you. Our first teachers are our parents. My parents are farmers in South Dakota, but also to help supplement the income, they both worked at the school. My dad was a custodian, and my mom was a teacher's aide / cafeteria / everything they do in small towns. And the big lesson that I've learned from them, that I've used as a teacher, is connecting with people. They haven't been in the school for several years, but they still go to the basketball games. You can go into the cafe, and they still have people coming up to them, telling how important they were to them. That my dad, as a custodian, always made a point to find that one kid that needed some extra attention. And my mom always smiled and gave a little extra something to that person who was coming through the lunch line that she knew needed it. And they made those lifelong connections that way. I was lucky I had great teachers growing up in a small town. Mrs. Reisig, my 4th grade teacher, taught me a lot of things. The biggest lesson I think I learned from her was empathy. In 4th grade, field day turned a little different. Instead of just doing sack races and 3-legged races, you had to actually start doing track and field things. My athletic prowess was all wasted on one of my older brothers. And this was the first year in 4th grade that I did not place in any of the track and field or field day events, and I was crushed. And I told Mrs. Reisig I had a headache, and did I have to go to the awards ceremony? And she looked at me and she said, "You can go to the classroom and put your head down." And I did, and I cried. Because that white participation ribbon just didn't mean the same to me. But what did mean the most to me was Mrs. Reisig recognizing a need that a student of hers had. And she showed that empathy for me, and I'll never forget that. Ms. Short, my high school biology and chemistry teacher, taught me about compassion. She was very stringent in her science teaching. Matter of fact, I started out as a biology major for my first year in college and then switched to elementary education. But part of it was because of her great teaching on biology and things. But more than that, she taught that you have to have compassion for each other before anything else. Being in a small town, a graduating class of 27 students in 1985, the junior-senior prom was a big deal. We had been, when you're a class of 27, you go from kindergarten all the way through with the same people in the same classes, and you know everybody, and everybody knows you. And we got into some feud, whatever it was, and she took an entire day, instead of teaching us classes, taught us about conflict resolution and taught us to be kind to each other. I'll never forget that. In college, I had a lot of great professors. One of them was Dr. Looney. Not like her name at all. Well, a little bit. She taught college literature. And one of the things I take away from her is perseverance. She was tough in literature. She made us read Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which the Apocalypse Now is based on. If you've ever tried to read that, it is much like the character in the book who has to trudge waist high in mud. And she told us that this book is going to be like trudging through waist-high mud. But when you get through it, you'll be glad you did. And we were, and I learned a lot from that, and so from her I learned perseverance. As a teacher, I'm still learning today as a lifelong learner. I learned from my colleagues, from Jennifer Smith, who is a 2004 Kansas State Teacher of the Year semifinalist. I learned a lot about professionalism from her. She's one of my greatest friends, and I've taught with her for 15 years, and her level of professionalism is something to be modeled to, and she always helps me keep my filter in check. To Cassie Sutherland, our choir director, who's been with me with us for several years, I want to thank her. She's here tonight for teaching me that it is okay to have fun in school. I'd like to thank my friend Chris Riedel. He has taught me a lot in the 13 years that I've been a middle school teacher. Chris is a teacher who is willing to do whatever it takes, whether that means adding that 32nd or 33rd or 38th kid into his shop class, or whatever it takes to make them successful. Chris Riedel is a model of that. To Scott Currier, my principal, my mentor, my friend, and a lifesaver. I've worked with Scott for 15 years. Scott has taught me a lot of things, but the number one thing Scott has told me is whatever we do, it has to be what's best for kids. And so thank you for that. My wife, Stacy, has been with me for a long time. as a music educator herself at a time and now a professional singer. The thing that I've learned about being a teacher from her is practice makes perfect, and take time to hone your craft, and you'll be successful. Stacy has a passion for music like none other, and she helps me keep my passion for teaching. So Stacy, thank you for that. And above all, I think we'd all agree that some of our best teachers are our students. So I want to thank all of the students that I've had in the 26 years of teaching, putting up with the good, the bad, and the ugly in me, being encouraging to me, keeping things real for me, like the time a student came into my classroom and said, "Wow, it smells like coffee and drama in here." And I think that's going to be the title of my autobiography. But thanks again to Emporia State. Thanks again to everybody who holds public education and teachers in high regard. And as has been said, every teacher deserves this day. And so on behalf of all the teachers, thank you.
Her former principal writes, "Over the years, I have seen hundreds of students walk through her classroom door. Most of them never considered themselves as artists when they stepped through that door. But by the end of the school year, I saw students emerge from that art room confident in their abilities as artists." Another former student writes, "I am one example of how crucial Mrs. Steck is in inspiring young souls through the art of her teaching. She is so passionate for her students and what she does that it is displayed in every student's work." A current student says, "She makes art so fun to explore and learn. She teaches in the best and funniest ways possible." A colleague and parent of a former student says, "Many times I've observed Mrs. Steck going above and beyond to encourage her students to work beyond their imagined potential. Her lessons often incorporate history and culture as she urges her students to create work in the styles of various current and past peoples." A parent of 3 former students writes, "The quality of the art projects Ginger's students create is amazing. Many of these projects are displayed locally. What a wonderful experience for students to see their projects displayed publicly." Please welcome Ginger Steck, master teacher.
It's always fun being last, but it has been a wonderful day, like everyone else said, and I want to echo what they've said about the wonderful hospitality here at Emporia State. And for all of my fellow master teachers this year, it was a lot of fun, and it was really amazing to get to know them. I'll get just a minute. Being an art educator, this award is a special honor that I feel I share with all the fine arts and exploratory teachers out there. Our subjects teach high-level problem solving, creative thinking, and naturally blend the core subjects into our medium. In class this week, I was talking with my new group of 6th graders coming in, extolling the virtues of the visual arts. I was telling them that you just can't separate art, science, and math in my world. They were intertwined, and that connection is now being recognized, fostered, and explored in the STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics programs that are popping up all over the United States. They're being created in schools, colleges, community settings, all across the country. I'm going to do the same activity with you that I did with them. Get ready. Think of anything that you're wearing, sitting on, that you rode inside to get here, that you live within, but don't stop there. Think of the phone that you use, the icons, the visuals, the movies. Art touches everything you use, you wear, you drive, all day long. The cereal aisle at the store would be boring without art. I had my kids try to imagine Oreos in a package that was black and white. It just didn't happen in their imagination at all. Package design is a $1 billion industry, that is focused on the visual impact of marketing and art. Art is a 21st century skill that is driving our world, and the thing is, art is inescapable. As far as thank yous, I want to begin by thanking my husband for helping me and supporting me, and for funding special projects all of these years in my art classroom. I think that he has adopted the don't ask, don't tell position on this topic. He may not have understood why I needed to go turn the kiln up at 3 a.m., or why I worried about a student all weekend because they were having a hard time, but I'm thankful that he has supported me. Thank you to the two most special blessings that I've ever received in my life, our two children, Ariel and Daniel. You have supported me in more ways than I can list. Your tech support is unmatched. Your willingness to share me with job commitments, not to mention having me as your art teacher for part of your schooling, has been a remarkable gift to me. I am forever grateful for you to teach me how to better communicate with my students and what to wear and how not to embarrass you. To my siblings, Wendy, Toby, and Tom, as well as my parents, thank you for your love, support, adventures, and memories that have kept me sustained as our lives have moved forward. Thank you to my forever supporters, my Aunt Kay and Uncle Jerry. I don't remember a time when I've been without your support, love, and creative influence. Your encouragement of me as a person growing up and the creative energy I found when I was around you is such a part of who I've become. I remember for graduation, my uncle amazed me by creating a 6.5-foot easel that was so versatile, he said I could lay on my back and paint with my toes. I don't know if you ever knew about this or that I ever told you, but I actually did it. I did lay down on my back and I painted with my toes. And it's so nice to know that I have that kind of equipment if I ever need it. A special thanks to my cousin Joy and her husband, who have been a positive and encouraging presence in the life of the people around them. You have been such a blessing, and I am grateful for the connection and love that you and Gailey's family share with our family. I cannot go very long without thanking all the teachers who have worked with me over the years, and especially the Andover teachers, any of whom could have been on this stage. These are teachers who look past the behaviors and issues to love and help the students grow into amazing, productive people. My teaching has been influenced by fellow specials teachers like Erin Middleton, Tracy Crusenberry, and Suzanne Eastman. Their incredible knowledge and desire to impart their love of their subject to their students inspire me to do the same. Thank you to friends and coworkers like Heidi, Sherry, Jan, Phyllis, I could probably go on, Adrian, Cindy, Lori, Kaylin, for seeing students through the lens of potential and hope. Thank you for our rock and art department at Andover Schools, two of whom are here tonight, Pat and Vicki. You all are amazing, and I am blessed to be part of such a great group. I want to thank my previous students who are here tonight, like Sarah and Allie, who made my job rewarding and challenging. And to see them here today and to know that art is still a part of their daily lives and that you've decided to make a career out of interior and architectural design is beyond rewarding. I want to also thank the Kansas Art Education Association for their support of art education and for the impact they have on so many art educators across the state of Kansas. No school is complete without a PTO. And our PTO in Andover is just amazing. I have never been supported by parents and volunteers the way that we do in Andover. And the amazing volunteers, Amy Reck and Alice Collins, and two of my people that have been assigned to my classroom, the glue meisters, Tracy and Janelle, helped me put up art shows containing over 1,000 pieces of art, and were tireless and funny and delightful, and it made it such a wonderful experience to just have fun together. And they are still good friends, which is good considering that we spent so much time together. To my administrators, through the years, but especially to Jody Baker, Tim Hayden, and Janelle Titsworth for the last 15 years of my career. Their willingness to listen to my sometimes crazy ideas and outlandish plans never faded. Their responses were always, "Sure, let me know how I can help." Their can-do attitude and their support of the art program was more than I ever could have hoped for. To the Andover district administrators who put kids first and work tirelessly to make sure that we are in the forefront of education. And finally, I want to thank my students, my kids, who inspire me and instruct me daily. Some students I've had for 8 straight years, the poor things. When I moved up from elementary to middle school, I moved up with my kids. So some of them I had from pre-K completely through 8th grade. And I had one mom call me and say that her daughter was having trouble deciding whether to take art in high school because she'd never had any other art teacher. And she was saying, "I just don't know what to do. Do you suppose you'll move up to high school like you did to middle school?" I said, "Probably not this time." But it was such a flattering and wonderful feeling to know that I've impacted her life that way. When you have kids for that many years running, they're your kids. They're your kids. My students touched my lives in unique and special ways, like Bailey, who bounced off the bus every day for 6 months with a toilet paper tube in her hand, just for me. Those came in handy when we made our kinetic sculpture. Eric and Katie, who were willing to be roped into a project making a full-size, life-size cellophane tape person, and they didn't complain a bit. All are the people that make my life truly amazing to teach and rewarding beyond explanation. Thank you, Emporia State, for helping us realize and reflect on our careers and come up with that feeling of amazing appreciation for our kids and what they mean to us in our lives. And please remember, fostering creativity actively changes the world. Thank you.
The Master Teacher Program periodically honors someone who has made extraordinary contributions to the teaching profession in Kansas by naming this individual a Kansas Master Teacher. This evening, we bestow this honor on a teacher and a leader who tirelessly worked and advocated for students, teachers, and education in Kansas with great clarity, great courage, dedicated perseverance, and a warm-hearted approach. After growing up in Anchorage, Alaska, and graduating from the University of Kansas, Karen Godfrey began her teaching career in the Seaman School District, where she taught secondary language arts. During her career, she earned a master's degree in language arts education from KU, and also National Board Certification in Early Adolescence English Language Arts. Karen became involved in the National Education Association work by helping to reestablish her local association at Seaman. She quickly realized the need for effective leadership to make Kansas a quality place to teach and learn. Karen led her association as chief negotiator, president, and UNISERV representative before becoming a statewide leader. Karen served KNEA in a variety of capacities, including secretary-treasurer, then vice president, and ultimately president. She was a good friend to the Master Teacher Program. She was a constant presence at our annual gatherings like the one we're having here tonight. She relished being an advocate for great public schools for every child. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen Godfrey, Master Teacher.
Everyone who knew Karen can attest she was truly a dedicated advocate for public education and Kansas children. Karen especially enjoyed attending this program. In fact, she told me, always keep your calendar clear so that you can attend this event. As a nationally board certified teacher, Karen valued the essence of this program, the recognition of outstanding educators and quality education. Karen was and should always be remembered as an outstanding educator. Thank you for honoring Karen's legacy with this award this evening.
Well, I think you would agree with me that this has not only been an inspiring evening, but it's been an enjoyable evening. what you've had to say this evening has inspired me so much. I just yearn for those days to splice 16 millimeter film again and run the transparency and mimeograph something. But, you know, it really truly has been a wonderful evening, and I've been pleased to be a part of it. And I thank you again for this opportunity to serve as your master of ceremonies, which is, in fact, the closest I would ever become to a Kansas master teacher. President Shonrock, in his remarks earlier, challenged us to go out and say something to a teacher who has inspired us along the way. I hope you take those words to heart. I hope you'll start by passing some congratulations to our inductees this evening, our honorees. Give them one more round of applause. I did actually do that. In fact, a few years ago in my 40s, I reconnected with my 6th grade homeroom teacher, and those memories came flooding back because I found in a box at home that I found a postcard, and it was addressed to me, and it was from Mabel Smith. And I read, I said, Roy, having a wonderful vacation. This is the Grand Canyon. This is what we've been studying, talking about. I was moved to tears, and I thought, I've got to share this with her. And so I took it in. Now you have to imagine, that was 6th grade, and I was 40-some years old. So I came up to Mrs. Smith. I could never call her Mabel. It was always Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith, I have something, and please sit down because I know this is going to be shocking and this could be an emotional experience for you. And she did, and she looked at me, as she always did, with pursed lips and her brow like, I said, do you remember this? And she looked at it and she turned it over. I said, you wrote that to me? She said, no, frankly, I don't remember that. Honestly, I sent them to all the kids in our class. But you know, like you all did, Mrs. Smith made us individually each feel like we were the only ones getting those cards. Well, this event does celebrate 7 deserving individuals, but it also gave us a chance tonight to put a spotlight on education and those who serve in the most noble of professions, and that is teaching. We want to again, and certainly want to thank Bank of America, and if you see anyone from Bank of America, tell them you appreciate the fact that they have helped make this award possible over all these years. I need to remind you that the nomination information event details regarding the 2016 Kansas Master Teacher Awards are available, and those are on our ESU website. You can simply go in, type in the name Kansas Master Teacher in the search box. It will take you directly to that site. And on behalf of Emporia State University, our Master Teacher Planning Committee, thank you so much for joining us in honoring our newest class of Master Teachers and for your continued support of this outstanding Teacher Award program. Thank you. Safe travel tonight.